Today, we're breaking down the book of Mark in just under 3 minutes. Now, Mark is one of 3 synoptic gospels. There's Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Those are the synoptic gospels. John is separate. Mark is actually the one that most biblical scholars believe was written first, right around 67 to 70 AD, more than 30 years after the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And this is at a time that a lot of heavy persecution is going on for Jews and Christians, and also right around the time, right before or right at the destruction of the Second Temple of Jerusalem. And as we try to understand the Gospel of Mark, think of it this way. If the other Gospels are full-length documentaries, Mark is kind of that high-energy, action-packed trailer. And what do I mean by that? There is no birth account. There's no introduction even to John the Baptist or who Jesus is. The story starts mid-story. We start with John the Baptist, and in the first chapter, Jesus is baptized, he's tempted, he's calling his first disciples, he's healing people, he's even casting out unclean spirits. That's all in chapter 1. It emphasizes Jesus as the Son of God, but using something biblical scholars call the messianic secret, which is this idea that we, the readers, know Jesus is the Son of God. The book tells us, demons and unclean spirits proclaim it, but the disciples, the Pharisees, and most everyone else don't really know who he is. And when someone says it, Jesus tells them, don't say anything, don't tell people who I am. For a gospel that's only 16 chapters, in the first chapters, we really start setting up right away the miracles, the calling of the disciples, the casting out of the unclean spirits, and the demons. And we start setting up how the crowds are getting bigger and bigger, and Christ is having a lot of compassion on them. Now by chapter 4, we get into a ton of teachings through parables and stories. By chapter 6, we see Jesus is rejected in his own town, but he's already sending out the disciples to spread the good news, and they're starting to become bigger and bigger miracles, like the feeding of the 5,000 and Jesus walking on water. But the disciples still aren't getting it. By chapters 8 through 10, the narrative starts shifting to the Pharisees that are always trying to test Jesus, and him letting the disciples know that it's not going to be long before he's beaten, flogged, killed, and resurrected. By chapter 11, he's also starting to talk about this idea that everyone who's following him also needs to be ready to take up their cross too. And by chapter 11, we're getting ready to build up to the Passion. Jesus is cleansing the temple, his authority is getting challenged. We can tell the Pharisees are already trying to figure out how to get rid of him. By chapters 14 and 15, we're getting into the Lord's Supper, his arrest, the Passion, and the crucifixion. And by chapter 16, we're getting the resurrection and the commission and the call to those who want to follow him both then and now. Be ready to take up your daily cross. Be ready to drink from the cup that he drinks from. And be ready to follow him no matter where he goes, even if we don't understand. You see, we're painting a picture of disciples who really didn't get it, who struggled to understand what Jesus was trying to teach and what Jesus was trying to do and who Jesus was. But they continued to follow. They stayed true to him. They made a lot of mistakes along the way. They had a lot of hurdles along the way. But 30 years later, when this book was written after the death of Christ, these are the people that started the church, that shared the good news, and gave their life every single day to follow Jesus. And that is the Gospel of Mark.